Formula One has a history of being at the forefront of technological developments. Case in point, Williams F1 has the first connected car that was built in 1979 for the race. It's unbelievable, long before anybody has heard of IoT. Now Williams is using automation to make their races more efficient, more effective, and get to the podium faster. In fact, by 2020, they'll be using AI to pull the cars into the pit. Pretty neat. We're going to welcome Williams CIO Graham Hackland in a second, but first we're going to show you a teaser video.
Seven wins for Frank Williams' team, 6 of them here for Alan Jones. Mansell wins the 1992 British Grand Prix.
The Japanese Grand Prix, and I've got to stop because I've got a lump in my throat.
Okay, ready to go. Launch as normal on green.
Doing it. It's like oxygen. It fixes you.
Good afternoon. So that's the cool company I work for. You'll have seen there some extremes of the things that we do, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you today some of the things that we're doing. From the baddie car in the James Bond film, to Baby Pod, a unit that's used in hospitals to help save babies' lives, to refrigeration units used in supermarkets to save energy. And we're going to focus a little bit on AI and some of the things we're doing in electrification. I thought I'd share with you some of the history of Williams first to show you our heritage and why should I be up here today talking about some of the new technologies that are coming. Just so I have an idea, how many Formula One fans in the room? And I realize I'm in the US. Oh, fantastic. Right. Usually in the US, there's one person at the back. So that's brilliant. Good. Okay. I think we're going to get on. We'll be fine. So our team, let me go back. I want that one. So the thing I love about Williams, and I've been there 4 years now. This is my 21st year in Formula One. But the thing I love about Williams is it's a family team. So Frank Williams set the team up 41 years ago with Sir Patrick Head. And their mission was to take on the bigger teams who had a lot more funding and beat them. And 41 years later, that's still our mission. That's still why I get up every day. Want to go and take on Ferrari and Mercedes and the big boys and go and beat them. And Claire Williams is our deputy team principal, Sir Frank's daughter. And so it's a family team with a great heritage. And I love the mission that we have. So let me tell you a bit about what else we do as Williams. So we take what we do in Formula One, which is really about fast iterations, inventing, going racing, trying it on the car on a Friday. If it doesn't work, take it off the car. And if it does work, you run it on Saturday, and hopefully it'll help you be performing better in the race. Now, those of you that put your hands up saying you're F1 fans, you'll know that Williams are having a tough season. So I won't dodge that. I'll admit that right here and now. But we got a plan in place to help us to turn around our fortunes this season. And we already started to see that at the last race as the car started to improve. But the interesting thing about Williams is we take that knowledge and know-how and the technology that we develop in F1, and we're applying it into our Williams Advanced Engineering company, and we're commercializing that. and we're doing some good with it, as you saw in the video. I really like some of the things that we're doing in medical sciences, or Karen Dark, you saw a Paralympic athlete who used a carbon fiber bike that we built for her to go and win a gold medal in Rio Olympics. So those are the kinds of things that we can do with lightweight materials, energy efficiency, and apply it into other industries. So we have customers who are relying on us, and that's quite different for a Formula One team. There's only a couple of us doing these kind of projects. So I wanted to start right at the beginning in terms of the conversation that we're having today. So this is not the 1977 car when the team was set up. This is actually 1979. And 79 was a significant year for Williams for a couple of reasons. It was their first win at Silverstone. And so Frank still talks about it now, the fact that it was at his home race. Clay Regazzoni won the race. But significantly from my perspective is 1979, this was the first car to have a data logger on it. Now for the geeks in the room, it was a 64K data logger. So you can imagine not a huge amount of data on there. But that's the first time that we started to capture data from a Formula One car. It took 20 minutes to download one lap of data. So it was a little slow compared to where we are now, and I'll touch on where we are with the real-time stuff now. So we were pioneers in Formula One in terms of data collection, what you might think of as an IoT device. It took 10 years for that data logger to go from 64K to 256K. So the rate of progress is nothing like we're seeing these days, right? Things have exploded. But all through the 90s, and when I came into Formula One towards the end of the 90s, even at the end of the 90s, both cars' data fitted on a floppy disk. So about a meg of data. Now we probably generate that before we get to the first corner in terms of racing. We're up at 80 to 100 gig, depending on the race. Depends if you get both cars to the finish or not as to how much data you generate. And then we started to apply this into road cars. So the Jaguar CX-75 that you saw that was in the Bond film, starting to collect telemetry and data from road cars some years ago. And then the modern car. So I thought I'd share a little bit about our kind of heritage. Over 300 sensors, 1,000 channels of data per second. Now, at a racetrack, it's fairly easy because you know where the car's, well, you hope you know where the car's going to be in the course of the race. And so it's fairly easy to make sure that you can get 100% coverage of the data. And we're starting to apply these lessons and this learning into what we're doing in some of our road car projects with some of the big OEMs like Jaguar. And moving that data around the world really helps us in terms of adding the number of engineers that we do to the problem of Formula One and racing in Formula One. We're only allowed to take 40 technical people to the track, and so we need more engineers working back at base as we go along. So we partnered with BT to help us to get that data securely from wherever we are in the globe back to our base in the UK. And the real-time stuff is really, really important. So pretty much anything you can think of that you can instrument on a car has been instrumented and has been for a long time, and we're capturing all of this data. So how many people that put their hands up as F1 fans watched the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Baku? Okay, so quite a few of you. So that's probably one of the best races, and for the last few years has been one of the best races because it's so unpredictable. It's a street circuit, so the surface is very slick, and the drivers, one driver drove into the wall all by themselves while they were trying to heat up their tires. So it does happen. Two drivers drove into each other. In fact, two teams, their drivers drove into each other. It's a very unpredictable race, and that's where the real-time analytics really comes in terms of Formula One. And we're taking what we're doing here. So you start the race thinking it's going to be a one-stop strategy. We're going to stop on lap 25, or there's a window. We'll stop between 22 and 30. And then all of this carnage happens within the first couple of corners. There's an accident, and then two drivers drive into each other, and you've got a safety car. And all of this at the moment is done by humans sitting on the pit wall, analyzing video, audio, car telemetry data, weather data, so trying to work out if the track temperature is going up or down. And we're doing this with humans at the moment, and I'll touch on where we're going in terms of AI shortly. I also just wanted to mention around human performance. So having had all this instrumentation on a Formula One car for years and years and years, we never really instrumented the humans. And so we finally got to the point now where we've realized that there's a competitive advantage to having, well, I think we've known for a while, a pit crew that's really good. But what we've realized is by adding some human biometrics, we can start to improve our pit crew. And I wanted to share a video with you of how we went from one of the slowest pit crews in 2013 to what we did. So So 1.92, we got under 2 seconds and we hold the record for the fastest pit stop. So we went from pit stops that were 3.5 seconds to under 2 seconds. And in Baku last weekend, we were the quickest team again at 2.18 seconds. And this is all using the human biometrics data and everything that we're doing with the humans to make that pit crew as fast as possible and as safe as possible, obviously. So I just wanted to touch on that. We've got instrumentation on the cars, but also on the humans, because that may be important in the future as we go into this new world of autonomous vehicles and AI. So let me tell you a bit more about advanced engineering, because I think that's really relevant in terms of the conversation today. I've got a short video that's going to expand a little bit on some of the projects that they're doing. But it's a fascinating part of our business. Take what we know about lightweight materials, electrification, energy efficiency, and apply it into lots and lots of other industries. So this is who advanced engineering are.
At Williams Advanced Engineering, we bring the same advantage to our customers and the world as our cars. We do this by thinking differently, looking to the future, with rapid innovation, to produce inspired engineering that enables a sustainable future. Williams Advanced Engineering. Advantage engineered.
So taking what we know about Formula One and having a lot of fun with it, as you can see from some of the projects we're doing. I wanted to drill down into electrification. This is a really important part of what we do. So Formula E, the electric formula, I won't ask how many people are fans of that series, but we're working very much in Formula E around the technology. And the battery that we've developed for Formula E, we've started to adapt into other industries now. And we're putting that into the new Aston Martin, the electric Aston Martin that we're helping them with. And also working with Airbus on the new Zephyr. We're taking the same technology from this car and applying it into other areas as well. And we've just received last month an award from Her Majesty the Queen around business innovation for the work that we're doing with this electric battery and the technology there. I wanted to highlight one other project because I think it's not just about motor racing or what we're doing in electrification. So that may not look like it, but that's a Nissan Leaf battery that we've taken out of a Nissan Leaf when it's end of life in terms of it being in a car, but the battery itself has still got 70% of its life left. And we're putting it into that unit, attaching it to the side of a house, and then we attach it to a solar panel, and then your power needs during the night are being run from a second life battery, which I think is stunning in terms of reuse of technology rather than throwing away these batteries and all of the chemicals and things that are in them. So autonomous vehicles, which I know, is a conversation that a lot of us are here for, and a lot of the conversations that I've heard this morning and presentations are around where we're going in terms of autonomy. So we're working on a couple of projects at Williams. We started out with a simulator, so we're obviously very good at simulators in Formula One. We use them not only for driver development, but we use them for car development as well. We've now applied these simulators to a city in the UK. We've mapped out the entire city, and we're running what-if scenarios. So what happens if, and does... we would talk about the car making a decision. It's not actually the car, is it? It's the coder, the software coder who's made some decisions about what the car is going to do in certain scenarios, and so we're running through those. So the autonomous vehicle projects are really interesting. Williams also set up an investment fund that's investing in new technologies, and we've invested in a company called CodePlay Software, and they're working on an artificial intelligence solution that is helping with driver-assisted aids initially, but also then to get to the full autonomous vehicle that's going to be making decisions as it's driving around on the road. So a couple of interesting projects that we're involved in there. The conversation that I've heard everyone talking about is around security. So we have partnered with a company called Thales in the UK to look at how we secure the autonomous vehicle platform. That's really, obviously really, really important. You don't want someone getting on there and applying brakes and things. So again, the lessons that we've had from securing and protecting a Formula One car, we're applying into these other industries as well. So artificial intelligence in my last couple of minutes. Let me immediately go on to the next slide, and there's some audio, hopefully you can hear.
And we will dox this lap. Dox.
So this we believe is going to be our first use case. So that was a human telling another human that they were going to come in for a pit stop, right? So the engineer on the pit wall telling the driver to come into the box. Within a couple of years, and I predicted that by 2020, the entire process of making that decision about when to pit, using the video analytics, the audio that we've got, the tire data, the weather data on the track, using all of our car telemetry data, the video analytics that we do on our competitors, combining all that together, we will be able to do that with an AI engine rather than a human who is currently susceptible to making mistakes, as we've seen with some of our competitors who've called pit stops when really they should have stayed out, or didn't call a pit stop, which is often more difficult to see whether you made the right decision or not, didn't call a pit stop and should have done. So we predicted that if the humans allow us, I'm waiting to see whether the race engineers will allow it, that technology will call a pit stop with no human intervention. The other big area that we're focused on at the moment is around strategy. So on the pit wall, the person grayed out there is our team manager. The team manager has the entire rule book in their head. He knows all the rules. So if a virtual safety car comes out, a safety car, if there's a red flag, a black flag, what's the likelihood of the race being stopped if there's debris all over the track. At Baku, for those who watched, you'll know that the safety car brought them through the pit lane instead of going down the pit straight because that's where the debris was. We want to automate a lot more of that information rather than having one individual who's making those calls over the radio. And then we can go to things like wearable technology so that the decision-making can be made by the AI engine and sent to a wearable device that an engineer has or a mechanic has in the garage rather than talking over the radio so the other teams can hear what we're saying. And the final thing I just wanted to mention on AI in terms of Formula One and what we're doing, we have a program called Factory of the Future, and a lot of manufacturing companies that you talk to will have this. Factory of the Future for us is not just improving our metal making capability and our composites and the materials that we're using in 3D printing, but it's really about how can we truly automate that whole process from aerodynamics to design to manufacturing to race engineering and the complete feedback loop. So on a Friday, we put a concept part on the car, it breaks or it doesn't break. The machine is now making parts for the next race, which is the very next weekend. We want to automate that so that artificial intelligence will tell that machine, stop making that part, or actually we need you to accelerate that part because it added more performance to the car than we thought. At the moment, it's a very manual process of dragging documents back and forward between various departments within the company. So that's a kind of whistle-stop tour. Didn't have long, but thank you very much.
From planes to trains to automobiles, moving things of all shapes and sizes are going electric. But what's going to spur the adoption of electric vehicles at mass scale? Please put your hands together for NPR's Jim Motivalli, QEV's Monica Mikak, Alta Motors' Mark Fenningstein, and Change's Brian Hansel.